I sort of just want to share with you something that happened the other day with me. Mm-hmm. I'm in class, and, I'm thinking again, I'm like 99.7% sure that I'm going to retire at this end of the year. And,
you made your mind up?
And,
you made your mind up?
Yeah, but there's this hesitancy. And with Harriet Tubman being one of my favorite historical characters, I said, you know what? This is like if I were on the plantation and Harriet said, come on, you could be free. Mm-hmm. Would I go? Now, and every time I do history, I have to put myself in the position of wherever I'm at because that's, an easy way for me to get involved in it.
So you're not ready to get over
So
the plantation,
I would have thought of myself as Harriet Tubman. But now I'm saying, well, what if I weren't Harriet and I was, because I'm adventurous enough to be Harriet Tubman, but what if I were put in the situation where I wasn't Harriet Tubman and I was on a plantation and somebody said, come and get me. And then I said, well, it would be cowardly for me to say, no, I'm not going to go. So I'm thinking about that. And then I go to work. And we're talking about something. And I said, wait a minute, let me ask you guys something. I was thinking about this. So I posed the question to them. You're on the plantation. You're seeing whippings and beatings. You work sundown. You're living in a shack. And someone comes and says, let's be free. I'm going to come and get you.
No, let's separate.
No, let's separate is a different thing. I have no problem with that. But this is let's be free. How many of you would go?
Let's run away.
Let's run away. How many of you would go?
From this place?
From
this great place?
Oh no.
You want me to separate from mine?
No, but that was a different thing because that was about nation building, which I don't see why any people would have problems with that too. But so out of 30 kids, maybe 3 raised their hand. Mm. So one of my colleagues from work, when I work husbands, walks into my room and he's listening to the discussion. And he says, well, let me ask you this. How many of you, if you had an opportunity to go somewhere in the world and someone said, I'm going to give you all expense paid trip to wherever, but you have to go alone, how many of you would do that? Oh, hell no. Nobody. No one would do that. Mm-hmm. Out of 2, it was just this uproar. Then he did try to break it down. Well, how many of you would go out to eat by yourself? Oh, you can't do that. How about how many would go to a movie alone? Oh, no. So there's this fear of the unknown. Mm. There's a fear. Now I travel by myself oh my God, please give me a ticket. I'll eat by myself. And of course, I've gone to a movie by myself. Mm. But separating from the plantation is kind of scary. Mm-hmm. But now and I'm thinking about that because I realized in the past couple of weeks, whatever you separate from or end, something new is right on the other side. What do they say? One door closes and there are, wow. Uh-oh. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
So we're talking about getting a great weekend and getting away, so can get away. So, in any case, how does this go all back? I think that there is something that my separating from these students, mm-hmm. I realize that I'm not going to know the way kids really think when you're not in a school with them. Mm-hmm. It's a privilege to know how kids think and to have discussions with them because most of us don't. And so we talk about all of these, situations in education without getting some idea of where kids are really coming from. But mm-hmm. that girl slapped me in the face today and she says, well, who are we supposed to look up to, Miss Lloyd? Who are we supposed to look up to? And I didn't even have enough time to process it. I'm still processing that question. Because if you're not looking at your parents as anybody, a lot of people...
Does she live with her parents?
Yes, she does.
Okay.
She lives with her parents.
That was very easy for me.
But that was for you. You see, so you want to... If your parents,
But that should be... It should be something that you try to communicate.
But that's some cultural thing. If your parents are drug addicts or, they don't have... And we've been taught... Or many of us have one parent that's visible, mm-hmm. right? or your parents, you watch television, you see how other people are living, in their fictitious world, and in addition to the celebrity, and then you look around, I would rather look up to Nicki Minaj than my mother because she doesn't have anything. Our kids, as far as black kids, don't even appreciate us as 50-something-year-old people.
But I think you have gone
all around Jack's barn.
Yeah,
or what do you mean?
I think you did Ring Around the Roses, man.
That would be a ring around the rosy. No, I mean it's no. But what I'm saying is that you don't.
But it's not that complicated.
It is that complicated.
No, it's not. It is not that complicated. It is very, very simplistic. Very simplistic. Okay? Don't look up to Charles Barkley, right? He's not a role model.
Why not? He's on television.
He's not a role model.
He's on television.
But you were just saying that because he's on television, he should be a role model. He's not.
Why else would he be there if he were not a role model?
Oh no, he's just there because.
Tell me who else not to look up to.
He's there because the company can make money of him being an idiot.
Who else should I not look up to?
You shouldn't look up to any sports person as a role model.
You're a sports person. I shouldn't look up to you as a role model.
No, but I don't consider. But I don't consider myself to be a sports person.
So no basketball players.
Look up to me for the things that I've done in my life. Look up to me for where I came from and where I am now and what I went through. So I can inspire you as a youth or as a kid to say, you know what? Anselm LeBron, I know he came from humble beginnings.
But that was back in the day.
What do you mean back in the day?
I mean, come on, there are way more things available to us in the 80s than there are today.
But telling the story. It's telling the story. Telling the story.
Tell me somebody else to not look up to.
Not look up to?
Mm-hmm. What about the rappers and the musicians?
Oh, the rappers and the musicians, waste of time.
We can't say all musicians are waste.
Not all, but most of them. Because they're in it to make money.
Kanye.
I don't know much about Kanye West. I don't know much about those rappers. I'll be honest with you, I don't know.
See, because you and I are not into celebrity. But that's what's forced down the throats of these children.
If I had to look up to somebody, I look up to my mother for being able to mind 7 kids all by herself. And none of us ended up in jail. None of us ended up taking drugs. And we ended up as normal human beings. As a mother all by herself. Right? I mean, I can't look up to my father because he was a DNA donor. So I can't look up to him. I got politically correct.
Well, but what about the fact that, I mean, men that recognize women for, all that they do and are valued, that's in a male-dominated society. It's a big leap for men to do that. Because men have been taught that you're supposed to lead and run everything. And so here you are looking up to your mom, and I've met a few other men who say, women got it going on and they're okay. Women can do stuff, but you have men who have been told, or young men who have been told all their wives, it's a man's world, a woman should follow, but then they don't even see that model in front of them.
I think they're misguided.
Sure, but they don't see the model in front of them.
But they're misguided, and anybody that's telling them that is misguided.
I mean, when I showed to students a chart and, the discrepancy between male and female average salaries, even based on education, and a man with a bachelor's degree overall will make more than a woman with a master's degree. Mm-hmm. And kids are like, yeah, that's the way it's supposed to. I've heard guys say that, and I was like, well, how many of you?
I think the informed individuals, I think those individuals, those are in the minority. Informed individuals, we know that a woman runs the household. A woman takes care of the household. And she does an excellent job most of the time. So when a man tells you, oh, man, I'm the man. I wear the pants. I do everything. I don't. Yeah, right. Get real. Get real.
These are part of the messages that that society still pushes that message, even though it doesn't even matter anymore. It's not relevant anymore.
See, but don't be a social conformist.
I'm not a social conformist.
Not you. Don't listen to what society is telling you.
But if you don't know, somebody has, again, here we go back to these same words, as far as critical thinking, someone has had to teach you, should have taught you how to think. All you got to do is recognize that there was one lie, and then you should question everything.
But I don't think anyone have to teach you how to think.
Oh, yeah, they do.
No, I don't. No one didn't teach me how to think. No one taught me how to think.
No one taught you how to think.
No one taught me how to think. No one.
You don't know that. You don't really know when it's happening.
But I'm telling you, because what I do is that what happened the other day? Oh, I'll give you an example today. So you know that we have applied for that radio license, that FM radio license, right? You know about that.
Yes.
So we were trying to get, I was telling the engineer that we hired in order to get an extension to file a report to the FCC. He says, no, the FCC would never agree to that. I said, well, listen. I said, you really don't know. You don't know that. I said, let's apply or let's ask the question and see whether they're going to say yes or no. If they say no, we just, the pendulum just haven't moved at all. We're still in the same spot. But if they say yes, then we got something accomplished. But you can't sit there and not try it and say it's not going to happen. And that's what many people do. Many people say, oh, you know what? That could never happen. You don't know that. You do not know that until you try. What's is not illegal now? You don't know that. And that's what a lot of people do. A lot of people say, man, that's never been done before. You know what? Someone didn't go to the moon. Someone didn't go to the moon before the first people went to the moon, right? Somebody's got to be first. Somebody's got to be first. Somebody. Like my 14 world records, plug. 14 world records. Ding, ding. Like the 14 world records I got, I was the first. Now, many people have said, man, that record is going to be a hard record to break. It's like Usain Bolt. Usain Bolt ran 19:19 in the 200-meter world record. People are like, oh, my God. Nobody never going to break that record. Michael Johnson ran 19:32. And no one says, nobody going to break that world record. Yeah. Somebody is going to come and break that record. Sometime. It might not be in my lifetime, might not be in your lifetime, but somebody's going to come. Because that's just the way it is. You can't, it baffles me when people say, well, no, I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think they're going to allow you to do that. You don't know until you try.
So at any rate, did the person try?
Which person?
We were back at the FCC.
Well, I tried.
Extension.
I called, but I left a message. So, because he was telling me, well, don't call because I don't think they're going to do it. I'm like, but that's part of, no one taught me how to think like that. No one did. I just think like that because I believe that. I read the book, The Magic of Thinking Big. That's what it is. That's what it is.
So there was some inspiration. Right.
From The Magic of Thinking Big, from reading, and of course, The Power of Positive Thinking by Norman Vincent Peale. Rich Dad, Poor Dad, How to Win Friends and Influence People, As a Man Thinketh. You want me to keep going?
No.
Okay, yeah. The Millionaire Next Door, So, Who Moved My Cheese? So, Confessions of an Economic Hitman. You ever read that book?
No.
You got to read that book. It tells you what America is all about. So what that's all to say, Marjorie, is that we have a system here in South Orange and Maplewood, back to basic system in South Orange and Maplewood, right? That many people do not want to admit it. Many people don't want to admit it, but there's a lot of institutional racism going on.
And I will agree that there is racism going on. I don't know how institutionalized it is, but I do need to add that some of these things we can work on.
And let me give you a quick example. And I'm looking at this article here. Boy, I was in the newspapers. Man. You know I was in the newspaper?
Not yet. Let's finish the article and then we'll go. What newspaper are you in?
I was in all across the country. For what happened in Orange.
What happened in Orange?
You didn't know about this?
Well, one thing at a time. Let's get to that. We've got, another 20 minutes to wrap up so we can read about I was expecting on your birthday to say that this person has got, very strong ego and, believes highly in themselves, but it didn't come up like that. So I'm going to keep searching for your birthday.